Yun Chujio pursed her lips when she heard the news. She was afraid that this was Jin Ji's doing. There were many ways to avoid suspicion. Why did she have to give her daughter to me? Sure enough, Jin Ji came over the next day in high spirits. Little Jill. Little Jill. This young lady will follow you back to the Tianyuan continent. Are you relieved now? Our Jin family doesn't have any ambitions. Pooey. You say it nicely, but it's just that our strength isn't enough. However, your Jin family can also rest assured. My beautiful mother will definitely not let you have the opportunity to plot against us. Yun Chujio said bluntly. There was no forever friend, only common interests. Jin Mentang's generation didn't rebel, but it didn't mean that his son, his grandson, and his great-grandson wouldn't rebel. Therefore, the restrictions still had to be put in place. Of course, the Jin family had made a great contribution, so the rewards had to be given. Otherwise, people would be disappointed. However, they could not allow it to develop without restrictions. Little Jill, you are right. It is better to let the Sheng Envy knock on the Jin family's door, so that some people will not be greedy enough to swallow an elephant. Jin Ji said through the recent events, she had long changed from an arrogant and overbearing young miss to a much more transparent person. Of course, compared to Yun Chujio, she only had one point of understanding. Yun Chujio had a 360 degree of understanding without any blind spots. I didn't expect that you, Beauty Jin Ji, would become so much smarter. Was this incident also your bad idea? Do you really want to go back to Tianyuan Academy with me? Aren't you afraid of being ostracized as a person from the Netherworld continent? Yun Chujio glanced at Jin Ji and said. Jin Ji nodded. This is the result of my careful consideration. I have always been too successful. It's not a bad thing to suffer a little. Besides, don't I still have you to protect me? What's there to be afraid of? Yun Chujio looked at Jin Ji in a new light. Some people were not stupid, nor did they not have the courage to change. It was just that they did not have the right opportunity. Alright, since your Jin family took the initiative to give me a hostage, I am naturally willing to accept it. Beauty Jin Ji, don't worry. Follow me and I promise to let you have a good life. I will also find you a good husband. Hee hee. Yun Chujio said with a smile. If an ordinary girl heard Yun Chujio's joke, her face would definitely turn red. However, Jin Ji also said with a smile, this is what you said. If you don't help me find my good husband, I will not forgive you. Jin Ji, you are in love with a beauty. Yun Chujio said exaggeratedly with a grimace. You shut up. No matter how generous Jin Ji was, she could not stand Yun Chujio's teasing. The two of them got into a fight. Yun Chujio was very happy. She felt a long-lost friendship from Jin Ji. True friendship was like this. It would not be belittled because of the other party's high status, and it would not be bossy because of the other party's low status, only a friendship built on the same spiritual status would be stronger. Another 3 days passed, and it was finally time to part. Sheng Envy's face was full of tears. She no longer wore the veil, because Yun Chujio said to her, Mother, you wear the veil to make everyone feel mysterious, but you have trapped yourself behind this veil. Mother, I believe in you. With your ability, you can definitely rule the netherworld. So, it's fine if you don't want this veil. This chapter is a preview. If you want to see a faster and more up-to-date chapter, please visit for more content. Yun Chujio's hilarious banter finally managed to turn the Saint Lattice tears into laughter. Only then did she board the flying spirit tool and leave the hall of the netherworld. Di Biming originally wanted to have a good time with Yun Chujio, but Jin Ji had been surrounding Yun Chujio and asking her about the Tianyuan continent. Yun Chujio was so smug that she could not stop dancing and talking. Di Biming frowned, Little Jiu, I have something to talk to you about. Anfeng often goes on missions outside, so he knows more. Just let him explain to Miss Jean. Yun Chuzhou thought that Di Biming really had something urgent, so she waved at Anfeng. If that's the case, little madman, you can accompany Jean Ji and have a chat. Anfeng had no choice but to act as a docent again, preparing to explain some things about the Tianyuan continent to Jean Ji. Prince Charming, why are you looking for me? Yun Chuzhou followed Di Biming to a room inside and asked curiously. Di Biming put one hand on the door, and the other hand held Yun Chuzhou in front of him, and his lips fell down. A thought flashed through Yun Chuzhou's mind as she was dizzy. Oh my, I got knocked by the door. After the two of them lingered for a while, Di Biming said in a hoarse voice, Little Jiu, marry me. We will get married after you graduate. Yun Chuzhou's thick-skinned face turned slightly red. My, that hasn't come yet. Even if we get married, we can't have sex. Di Biming's face also turned red. I didn't marry you to have sex with you. I will feel more at ease if I marry you as soon as possible. Yun Chuzhou pursed her lips in her heart. What she said was not what she meant. If she didn't go back, could it be that they were going to kiss? Both of them felt a little embarrassed and didn't know what to say. Di Biming coughed dryly. Oh right, did your mother tell you about the origin of that seed? That seed is not my mother's dowry. When my mother picked me up, I was wrapped in a small quilt. That seed was found inside the small quilt. Yun Chuzhou said with a frown. The clue was broken again. Could it be that the only way to get rid of the Guai Chao was to ascend to a higher-level continent? Di Biming touched Yun Chuzhou's hair. Little Jiu, you don't have to worry too much. I should be able to ascend in 3 years or a year. When I reach a higher-level continent, I will definitely be able to help you find a way to get rid of the Guai Chao. Hearing Di Biming's words, Yun Chuzhou's sense of urgency grew stronger. Damn it, she had to hurry up and cultivate. Otherwise, what if the little goblin from the higher-level continent kidnapped her pretty boy? The two of them chatted for a while more before Yun Chuzhou hopped off to look for Jean Ji. When Jean Ji saw Yun Chuzhou, she teased, You're finally willing to come out. You really forget your friends when you see them. Hurry up and continue telling me about Tianyuan Academy. Yun Chuzhou could not help but wonder, didn't I ask Anfeng to tell you about it? Where is he? Don't mention it. That crazy kid's story isn't lively at all, and he often stammers. It's not interesting at all, so I don't need him to tell me. Little Jiu, your story is more lively and interesting. Jean Ji said with a look of disdain. Yun Chuzhou was even more puzzled. Anfeng was the most eloquent of the gigolo's underlings, so why was he stammering today? It shouldn't be. He must have been too tired recently. Yun Chuzhou didn't think too much about it and started blabbering to Jean Ji. Anfeng, who was in the corner, had a miserable look on his face as he slapped himself. Trash. What a trash. He usually didn't have the problem of stuttering. Why did he become a stutterer in front of Miss Jean Ji? Di Biming ordered his subordinates to return to the Temple of Immortals while he escorted Yun Chuzhou back to the academy. The people of Tianyuan Academy already knew that the battle at the border had ended. They had also heard about Yun Chuzhou's matter. After all, this rumor spread the fastest. What? Yun Chuzhou sneaked into the Netherworld Palace alone. Not only did she sneak into the Netherworld Hall, but she was also chosen to be the successor of Sheng Envi. What? Yun Chuzhou was actually the adopted daughter of Sheng Envi of the Netherworld Hall. Yun Chuzhou helped Sheng Envi to annihilate Vice Palace Master Lu and his direct descendants. Oh my god, Yun Chuzhou was not human. She was a monster among monsters. How could a little girl do something that many mighty figures could not? Therefore, as soon as Yun Chuzhou's flying spirit tool landed, everyone from the Tianyuan Academy immediately gathered around. Some students spontaneously shouted, Little Ninth Fairy is mighty. Little Ninth Fairy is the #1 in the world. Little Ninth Fairy is unparalleled in the world. If Yun Chujio had a tail behind her, she would probably have gone up to the sky by now. It took her a lot of effort to suppress the corner of her mouth that had curled up. She dismounted the flying spirit tool with a pretentious look on her face and even waved at the crowd in a decent manner. When Jin Ji saw this scene, she could not help but be shocked. Little Jiu was actually so popular in the Tianyuan continent. Even the Saint Lady was only a so in the Netherworld continent. Anfeng saw that Jin Ji was standing at the entrance of the flying spirit tool in a daze, so he could only remind her, Miss Jin Ji, you should also go down. Jin Ji nodded and walked down from the flying spirit tool. She was very puzzled in her heart. Why did Di Biming find a stutterer to be his confidant? Could it be that there was something out of the ordinary? After Yun Chujio was done acting cool, she and Di Biming followed Din Huangfu to the living room. Yun Chujio introduced Jin Ji to Din Huangfu. Din, there's no need for Jin Ji to participate in the entrance test, right? Her situation is special. She can be considered an exchange student from the Netherworld continent. We can also send students to study in the Netherworld Academy in the future. This is called exchanging needs. Din Huangfu thought to himself, you sure know how to find excuses, but there's no problem in accepting Jin Ji. After all, if anything goes wrong, the Temple of Immortals will take care of it. Hence, he smiled and said, since that's the case, Jin Ji can directly be inserted into your 5th grade Xian class. You've wasted quite a bit of time this time. The semester is almost over. Yun Chujio thanked him and said, Lord Dean, how do you plan to deal with Deputy Dean Yin and Yin Xinlian? Yun Chujio had obtained sufficient evidence from Si Tushir to prove that Deputy Dean Yin and Vice Palace Master Lu were in cahoots. Although Yin Sulian was not directly involved, she had helped to do a lot of things, therefore, she immediately thought of a way to inform Din Huangfu. Din Huangfu had already locked up Deputy Dean Yin and Yin Sulian. Din Huangfu sighed, since the evidence is conclusive, we naturally have to kill them. Thinking back to when the Netherworld continent invaded, Yin Haoyu was considered a hero when he charged into battle. I didn't expect that he would betray the Tianyuan continent for his own interests. Yun Chujio did not feel emotional. That old bastard had repeatedly harmed her. If she did not kill him, would she still be alive for the new year? Yun Chujio's heart stirred as she thought of something. Dean, I heard that teacher Ji Sha's cultivation was originally at the level of a spirit paragon. Later on, something unexpected happened and his spirit energy was reduced to the level of a spirit saint. It is said that he is related to Yin Haoyu. What is going on? Din Huangfu couldn't help but sigh when he heard Yun Chujio's question. He recounted what had happened. After the incident at the Netherworld Palace, Deputy Dean Yin's actions became more and more flamboyant. Teacher Ji Sha was quite stubborn, and after ruining Deputy Dean Yin's good deeds a few times, he was hated by Deputy Dean Yin. 3 years ago, Deputy Dean Yin had deliberately set up a trap, asking teacher Ji Sha to take the initiative to help the Academy's spirit herb garden find a spirit herb called Iceporia. Iceporia was a spirit herb that grew on top of 10,000-year-old cedar, and it only existed in the far north. At that time, after Din Huangfu and the others heard about it, they advised Ji Sha not to go. Although there were people living in the extreme north, the place where the 10,000-year-old cedar grew was very remote, and it was the deepest part of the ice plains. It was really very dangerous. Ji Sha's personality was stubborn, and he did not listen to everyone's advice and insisted on going. Din Huangfu had no choice but to let him go. Unexpectedly, after nearly a year, Ji Sha only returned. His spirit energy had changed from the 3rd level of the Supreme Spirit Realm to the 9th level of the Spirit Saint Realm, and his entire person had become a lot more haggard. Din Huangfu asked him what had happened, but he didn't say anything. Din Huangfu asked him a few times, but he couldn't get anything out of him, so he just let him be. He looked more and more dispirited. If it weren't for Yun Chujia's provocation after entering the school, he would have looked like a slob all the time. Yun Chujio blinked her eyes. Ah, I thought that old bastard Yin Haoyu poisoned teacher Ji Sha. Since it wasn't him, that old bastard is useless now. Let's just kill him. That Yin Sulian is a brainless person. Even if she's alive, she's still suffering. Let's kill her as well. If it was in the past, Yun Chujio might have let Yin Sulian live. However, ever since the incident with Shuo Piaoyu, Yun Chujio knew that in this world where the strong preyed on the weak, if she was merciful to her enemies, it would be cruel to herself. She had to get rid of the root of the problem. After chatting for a while, Dean Huangfu suggested that Di Baiming personally execute Yin Haoyu and Yin Sulian. Di Baiming nodded in agreement. Soon, the guards brought Deputy Dean Yin and Yin Sulian up. Yun Chujio. You bitch. You will die a horrible death. If it weren't for you, our Yin family wouldn't have been destroyed. I will not forgive you even if I become a ghost. Yin Sulian gritted her teeth when she saw Yun Chujio, who was becoming more and more beautiful. Yin Sulian, I'm too lazy to waste my breath on a brainless person like you. You said that you couldn't defeat me when you were a human, but you can defeat me when you're a ghost. Haven't you heard of a saying? Ghosts are afraid of evildoers. Evildoers like me are even afraid of ghosts, so you should give up on that thought. Shut her mouth and listen to the commotion. Yun Chujio said lightly. Immediately, a guard came forward and shut Yin Sulian's mouth. Yin Sulian was so angry that she could only stare helplessly. Brother Huangfu, although I have a connection with Vice Palace Master Lu, I didn't commit any major mistakes. Please spare me on account of our many years of friendship. Deputy Dean Yin said with snot and tears in his eyes. Dean Huangfu sighed. If you knew this would happen, why did you do it in the first place? There is a cause and effect. You brought this upon yourselves. Do it. Deputy Dean Yin wanted to say more, but the guard raised his knife and died. Di Baiming saw that the matter was settled, so he took his leave. Yun Chujio waved her handkerchief and sent Di Baiming away. She excitedly pulled Jin Ji and said, "The gigolo is gone, I have regained my freedom. Let's go, I will bring you to the canteen for a meal. Let me tell you, the food in the Tianyuan Academy's canteen is not inferior to that of the Netherworld Hall." This chapter is a preview. If you want to see a faster and more up-to-date chapter, please visit for more content. Jin Ji pursed her lips. You're really a one-man show in front of everyone. You're a Prince Charming in front of everyone. The moment he leaves, he becomes a gigolo. TCH. This is called strategy. What do you know about being single? Yun Chujio said disdainfully. Jin Ji was so angry that she gritted her teeth. Yun Chujio, so what if I'm single? I'm proud of being single. Let me tell you, a person like you who is about to marry a woman is trapped. A person like me has a wider choice. Go and be envious. Who said I'm going to marry a gigolo? I have to go and challenge the prodigy role first. You've reminded me that I have to go and challenge the prodigy role. Yun Chujio blinked her eyes. Her little fairy Jio's resume was going to be filled with a heavy stroke. Top 100. How boring would that be? If she wanted to be first, she would be first. Yun Chujio took Jin Ji to lunch and then took Jin Ji to tour around Tianyuan Academy. Yun Chujio now had a halo around her wherever she went. Firstly, everyone admired her for taking care of the netherworld in such a dangerous situation. Secondly, everyone was really afraid of her evil schemes, afraid that she would take revenge on them, therefore, they all nodded their heads and bowed their heads in flattery. Yun Chujia's heart was filled with joy. After being a wife for so many years, she had finally become a mother-in-law. Thinking back to when she had just entered the Tianyuan Academy, everyone called her a waste. Now, who dared to call her a waste? What was this called? This was called a face slap with strength. It felt great. Yun Chujio originally planned to let Jin Ji squeeze in the same courtyard as her first. Once there was a suitable dormitory, she would move out. Unexpectedly, a student came over eagerly. Class monitor, there is a courtyard not far from your dormitory that is empty. You can let senior Jin Ji live there. Yun Chujio brought Jin Ji to that courtyard to take a look. It was not bad, and Jin Ji moved into that dormitory. After Yun Chujio arranged Jin Ji, she went to see the dried-up old man. Master! Master! Little Jio is here to see you. Before Yun Chujio arrived, her voice had already arrived. The dry old man was pacing around the room with a worried look on his face. When he heard Yun Chujio's shout, he forced a smile and said, "Come in. You little brat, you're really amazing. You actually succeeded. Hee, I'm your disciple. Of course I can't embarrass you," Yun Chujio said with a smile. The dry old man scolded her with a smile and then asked Yun Chujio some details before he said, "You haven't broken through for a long time, right? What do you plan to do?" "Master, I'm going to challenge the prodigy role. I'll try my best to get you first place. What do you think?" "Humph. What big words. If you're studying at the top of the prodigy role, there's still hope. The first place on the overall prodigy role is D. Biming. How can you be better than him back then?" The old man curled his lips and said, "What's wrong with D. Biming? The one I surpass is D. Biming. I want to trample him under my feet." "Humph." Yun Chujio said proudly, when she thought about how the palace master's wife knew that not only did she get into the top 100 of the prodigy role, but she also trampled the pretty boy under her feet. Her expression must have been very interesting. "You little brat, you sure are ambitious. Your master is just waiting for you to get first place. If there's nothing else, you can go back first." The dry old man waved his hand and said, "Master, are you hiding something from me? Every time you wish that I could chat with you a little longer, why are you in such a hurry to chase me away today?" Yun Chujio was so smart, her eyelashes were empty. She had long felt that there was something wrong with the dry old man. This chapter is a preview. If you want to see a faster and more up-to-date chapter, please visit for more content. What could possibly happen to me? You're thinking too much, little girl. Hurry up and go back. It's getting late. The dry old man said impatiently. Yun Chujio asked a few more times, but the dry old man still didn't leak any information. Yun Chujio had no choice but to leave the dry old man's courtyard. The more Yun Chujio thought about it, the more she felt that something was wrong. Thus, she jumped to Dean Huangfu's courtyard and said, "Dean, I feel that my master is hiding something from me. Has something happened recently?" Dean Huangfu was taken aback. "No, everything is as usual. Elder Jiang even helped me capture Yin Haoyu. I don't see anything wrong with him. Perhaps you are thinking too much. Elder Jiang has already recovered from his injuries. There is almost no match for him in the Tian Yuan continent. What could have happened?" "Dean, since there is nothing unusual, let's put this matter aside for now. I want to challenge the prodigy role." Hearing Dean Huangfu's words, Yun Chujio felt uncertain. Could it be that she was really thinking too much? Dean Huangfu wasn't too surprised. He nodded and said, "The rest is in a few days. You can challenge it that day. With your current strength, it's not a problem for you to get into the top 100 of the role. If you perform well, it's not impossible for you to get into the top 10. Yun Chujio proudly raised her head. "TCH. What's the point of reading? I'll challenge the master role then. And I'm going for the first place in the master role." Dean Huangfu's eyes twitched. "Then I'll wait and see." Dean Huangfu did not throw cold water on Yun Chujio. Although the first place on the master list was not that easy to obtain, after years of observation, he found that there was nothing impossible about this monster, therefore, it was better to speak less to avoid being slapped in the face. Very soon, it was the day of rest. Yun Chuzhou brought Jin Ji and slowly rushed towards the southernmost part of the Tianyuan Academy. The prodigy roll wasn't artificially ranked. Instead, there was a prodigy hall at the southernmost part of the Tianyuan Academy. After the students who were ranked entered the prodigy hall, the more passes they passed, the more points they would get. Once the news of Yun Chuzhou challenging the prodigy roll spread out, the students of the Tianyuan Academy originally wanted to go home but didn't want to. Those who wanted to go shopping also didn't want to go. Even those who wanted to go out for a date didn't want to go out, they waited around the prodigy hall to watch the show. The reason why they were so enthusiastic was very simple. Because they all wanted to see if Yun Chuzhou, this pervert, would create another perverted miracle. They wanted to see how far she could go. Yun Chuzhou saw a dark crowd from afar. This guy said to Jin Ji, "Beauty Jin Ji, have you seen my popularity?" When they heard that I was going to challenge the prodigy role, these people all stood up and cheered for me. Jin Ji pursed her lips. Support me? I don't think so. They are all here to watch the show. Do your best. Don't fail to enter the top 100. You'll drag me down with you. Don't worry, I'm not you. I'll definitely get Beauty Jin Ji first place. Yun Chuzhou said with a smile. The way this guy and Jin Ji interacted was to fight each other. Weren't they happy? When the crowd saw Yun Chuzhou coming over, they automatically opened a path for her. Yun Chuzhou walked in with swagger. Yun Chuzhou had never been here before. She thought that the Pride of Heaven Palace was a magnificent palace. She didn't expect that the so-called Pride of Heaven Palace was actually a thatched cottage. On the plaque, there were 3 crooked words, Pride of Heaven Palace. This chapter is a preview. If you want to see a faster and more up-to-date chapter, please visit for more content. Yun Chuzhou pursed her lips. This was called the Pride of Heaven Palace. How could this be called a palace? This was a thatched cottage. And it was the kind of thatched cottage that had not been lived in for many years. Yun Chuzhou raised her head and looked at the side of the Pride of Heaven Palace. There were 2 huge screens standing there. One of them was the general list of the Pride of Heaven. Di Baiming's name was at the top of the list, followed closely by Xue Wuji's name. As for the list of students, Yun Chuzhou did not even look at it. This fellow had this kind of mysterious confidence. The first place on the overall list was none other than her. Yun Chuzhou walked to the front door of the Prodigy Hall and placed her identity jade token in the groove. Then, she gently pushed open the door of the Prodigy Hall. Yun Chuzhou had just pushed open the door a crack when suddenly, dust flew into the air, choking Yun Chuzhou until she coughed. Cough cough. Cough cough. I'm choking to death. How long has it been since someone challenged the prodigy role? Why is it all dust? Everyone was very puzzled, and someone shouted, Little Fairy Jiu, recently, many people have challenged the prodigy role. Last time, during the break, someone even challenged the prodigy role. That's right. Little Fairy Jiu, I guess there's a sandstorm inside. That's why there's dust on the door. Yun Chuzhou pouted. What sandstorm? This prodigy hall should be an ancient divine artifact or something. The scenery inside was all illusory. She hadn't even entered yet, so how could there be a sandstorm? Yun Chuzhou felt that this Hall of Heaven's pride was a little strange. However, there wouldn't really be a dead person in this hall. Those who challenged the Heaven's pride role would be ejected the moment they died, so it didn't matter anymore. Thinking of this, Yun Chuzhou pushed the door even harder and walked in, pushing the dust away. Just as Yun Chuzhou's figure entered, the door closed with a bang. Everyone's eyes were fixed on the small screen beside the 2 large screens. The screen would show the real-time points of the people who entered. At this moment, Yun Chujia's points were 0. After Yun Chujio entered the Hall of Heaven's Pride, she realized that she was really in a thatched cottage. There was a bed, a desk, and a chair inside. The bed was covered in dust. The desk and chair were also missing a leg and were supported by a stone. Yun Chujio could not help but frown. Could it be that she had entered the fake Hall of Heaven's Pride? She had also asked some people who had passed the Heaven's Pride roll. After entering, they should have been teleported to the challenge mode, some grass scenes, some ocean scenes, and then killed monsters to earn points. What was the meaning of sending her to this shabby thatched cottage? At this moment, the Wuxia novels she had read in her previous life flashed through Yun Chujia's mind. Usually, when she encountered this kind of situation, she would most likely encounter a place where an unworldly expert passed away. Then, she would be able to obtain peerless martial arts manuals and the like. When Yun Chujio thought of this, her eyes immediately began to glow with blue light. She began to rummage around. She even rummaged under the bed. Other than the dust on her body, she could not find anything else. Yun Chujio touched her chin. When she opened the door just now, there was dust coming out. This meant that this thatched cottage really existed. Why did the Hall of the Proud of Heaven suddenly become a thatched cottage? Yun Chujio gritted her teeth. If she really could not go out, she would first go out and enter again. She did not expect that when Yun Chujio pushed the door of the thatched cottage, it turned out to be a desolate land outside. The surroundings were gray and it was impossible to walk out. Could it be that this was a trial scene? Perhaps there would be demonic beasts at night, then she would wait. Thinking of this, Yun Chujio used a cleaning spell to clean the dust in the house. She took out her luggage and laid it on the bed. She took out her phone book and started reading. The crowd outside the Hall of Heaven's Pride saw that Yun Chujio had entered for several hours, but her points were still 0. They could not help but discuss among themselves. It's really strange. This Hall of Heaven's Pride should have started the challenge as soon as she entered. Why doesn't Yun Chujio have any points at all? Yeah, I'm also puzzled. Although the talisman can't be used inside, Yun Chujio's spiritual power is so abnormal. How could she not get any points? There must be something wrong. Let's wait and see. We can be sure that Yun Chujio is definitely not eliminated. Otherwise, she would be ejected. Jin Ji was very anxious. She stretched her neck and kept looking. Feng Ming and the other two smiled and said to her, Jin Ji, you don't have to worry too much. We are already used to little Jiu like this. Whenever she tries this kind of mystic realm, it's always different from others. You just have to wait patiently. Although Jin Ji knew that Yun Chujio was a pervert, she had not known her for long. When she heard Feng Ming say this, she was a little confused, so she said, Can you tell me about the time when little Jiu tried to enter the mystical realm? Feng Ming was a talkative person, so he naturally would not decline. He immediately began to babble to Jin Ji. After Yun Chujio finished reading the story book, she found that it was already evening. Yun Chujio walked out of the thatched cottage and looked around, but she did not find any way out or any signs of demonic beasts. It seemed that she was the only living creature here. Yun Chujio gritted her teeth and took out a stack of sudden cracking talismans and threw them at the gray and hazy place. Loud cracking sounds kept ringing out, but it was of no use. Other than the soil on the ground splashing up a little. There was no change at all. Yun Chujio had no choice but to let Xiao Hanio and the others take turns to stay up at night and then go to bed. Nothing actually happened at night. Yun Chujio was depressed. It seemed that this was not a trial at all. She was trapped. What should she do? Should she just wait? Actually, there was another way. She could kill herself and then be bounced out. However, Yun Chujio had a worry. If this small hut actually existed, then if she committed suicide, would she really die? This guy cherished his life. How could he take such a big risk? Therefore, suicide was absolutely not an option. Damn it! Which bastard did this? I'm here to challenge the prodigy role. Who am I in the way of? He actually trapped me in here. If I know who did it, I'll kill him. Yun Chujio cursed angrily, but it was of no use. There was no reaction at all. Other than Yun Chujio and the three silly cuties, there was not even an ant here. Fortunately, Yun Chujio had sufficient reserves. She would not starve to death, but it was not a problem for her to be trapped like this. Yun Chujio tried using the small purple needles, the little piglet of spiritual power, the purple lightning, and even used a large kitchen knife to hack a few times, but it did not have any effect. After a while, Yun Chujio decided to calm down and clear her mind. No matter how perfect the trap was, there would be flaws. Calm down, calm down. Xiao Hanio suddenly said, Master. Master. I found a big flaw. Yun Chujio was delighted. What flaw? Master, I remember you said that you can't use talismans in the Pride of Heaven Palace, but you used a sudden rupture talisman. Isn't that contradictory? Xiao Hanio used an idiom in order to show her knowledge. He didn't care whether it was appropriate or not. Yun Chujio was stunned. That's right, the Heaven's Pride Palace couldn't use talismans, so why could she use sudden rupture talismans? There must be a problem. Xiao He, I didn't expect you to be so smart. Yun Chujio complimented. Xiao Hanio stared at her with his green bean-like eyes and said, Master, since you've admitted that I'm smart, don't call me a stupid bird. It's a blow to my confidence, okay? Yun Chujio pouted. Alright, if your IQ is always on the line, I won't call you a stupid bird in the future. After comforting Xiao Hanio, Yun Chujio began to think about the sudden rupture talisman. The Pride of Heaven Palace, which originally banned talisman seals, could actually use the sudden rupture talisman. What did this mean? Yun Chujio was slightly excited. This was definitely an opportunity to solve the current predicament. Calm down. Calm down. Yun Chujio forced herself to calm down. She finally thought of two possibilities. One was that this place was really not in the Proud Heaven Palace, so it was not restricted by the rules of the Proud Heaven Palace. The other was that this place was still inside the Proud Heaven Palace, but this place was an illusion. Yun Chujio recalled the time when she saw the Proud Heaven Palace. She once complained that this place should not be called the Proud Heaven Palace at all. This was a thatched cottage, and it had not been lived in for many years. Could it be that this place could be transformed according to people's imagination? Yun Chujio suddenly stood up. She put the three Xiao Hanio into the spiritual beast bag and began to imagine that she was in the dormitory. Yun Chujio began to imagine without any distracting thoughts. When she opened her eyes again, sure enough, Yun Chujio found that she was in the dormitory. Even the number of spiritual fruits on the table that she deliberately imagined was exactly the same. Yun Chujio could not help but sneer. It was really like a flower blooming with one thought and a flower falling with one thought. In a normal illusion, as long as the person who was trapped in the array realized that they were trapped in an illusion, they would be able to escape. This illusion actually only changed according to the structure of the person's consciousness and did not break out of the array. This illusion was really brilliant. Then, the problem came. How exactly could she break this illusion? Yun Chujio racked her brains and could not come up with a good idea. Because all the scenarios in her mind could be created by the illusion. Therefore, it was a dead cycle. Even if she imagined that she could break the illusion, it would be fake. Yun Chujio thought about it and realized that there was only one way. That was to find the eye of the array. Only by destroying the eye of the array could she break the illusion. However, where was the eye of the array? Yun Chujio thought for a long time and gave up on the idea of finding the core of the formation, because the hope was too slim. She thought of the most direct and stupidest method, and that was to use up all the spiritual stones in the core of the formation. Yun Chujio curled the corners of her lips. Aren't you able to create a situation? It'll tire you to death. In any case, sister's spiritual sense is very strong. I want to see if it's my spiritual sense that is strong, or if you have more spiritual stones. After eating and drinking her fill, Yun Chujio had a good sleep. When she woke up the next day, she sat down cross-legged on the ground and started to imagine the scene in her mind. Yun Chujio started to imagine all kinds of scenarios. The scene in front of her kept changing. Yun Chujio found a problem. The weirder the situation, the slower it was. This meant that the weirder the situation, the more spiritual stones would be consumed. The guy's eyes lit up and he immediately had an idea. This guy was really mean. He started to fantasize about rocket launches, Star Wars, zombie wars, comets hitting the Earth. At this moment it was already the afternoon of the second day outside the thatched cottage. There were still many people watching. Yun Chujio has already been inside for a day and a half. Why is her score still 0? Who knows? This Yun Chujio is always different from the others. I wonder what she will do this time. Suddenly, everyone noticed that the Heaven's Pride Hall was trembling violently. They were so scared that they hurriedly stepped back. Was the Heaven's Pride Hall going to collapse? Why was it suddenly trembling? At the same time, someone pointed at the small screen and exclaimed, "Oh my God! Look!" The crowd was confused. They looked in the direction that the person pointed and saw that Yun Chujio's points on the screen had turned into a red 1 trillion. Oh my God! 1 trillion! What kind of joke is this? There must be something wrong with the Pride of Heaven Hall. It's not 1 trillion, it's negative 1 trillion. The red color represents a negative number. Oh my God, what did Yun Chujio do? She actually got a negative 1 trillion points. The person ranked first only has a few 100,000 points, and Yun Chujio actually got a negative 1 trillion points. This means that she must have done something that made the weapon spirit of the Pride of Heaven list extremely angry. Qi Ling said, what could she have done to anger the prodigy role so much? She was only challenging the trial inside. Even if she was insulting the prodigy role shouldn't be so angry, right? I'm also very puzzled. I can only wait for Yun Chujio to come out and ask. This Yun Chujio is really a pervert. She could make such a big commotion just by challenging the prodigy role. Then, what exactly happened in the prodigy role? 4 hours ago. Yun Chujio's mind was wide open. She began to imagine the scene of the Star Wars. Although the illusory formation had created the scene of the Star Wars, the time it took was more than 10 times more than the other scenes. Moreover, some parts of it were strange. This was understandable. The illusory formation could only extract the scenes from Yun Chujio's consciousness. However, Yun Chujio was just imagining things. Naturally, many parts of her thoughts were not perfect, so the illusory formation had to perfect some of the flaws. This time, the illusory formation was in trouble. Even those who repaired it could not tell which was ancient and which was modern. However, Yun Chujio was very imaginative. In the end, she even thought of black holes, multidimensional space, and so on. Then, there was no then. Yun Chujio heard a boom and the scene in front of her changed. She found herself in a palace. There was a broken formation disk not far in front of Yun Chujio. Fortunately, Yun Chujio had many defensive spirit weapons on her, so she was not injured. Yun Chujio jumped up and looked closer. The spirit stones in the formation core were all shattered, and even the formation leaves were blown up into pieces. This fellow rubbed his chin and muttered, could it be that he has exploded in anger? Isn't his endurance too weak? I still have many scenarios that I haven't thought of yet. For example, mecha, aerial base, the microscopic world. Before Yun Chujio could finish her words, some of the remaining formation leaves had exploded once again. Fuck. Can the formation disk even turn into a corpse? It'll just die a quick death. Yun Chujio ridiculed as she looked around. This was probably the real Heaven's Pride Hall, but she did not know what level was next. Yun Chujio waited for a while, but the scene in front of her did not change. This fellow was puzzled. Could it be that what she was seeing now was still an illusion? In order to verify if the scene before her was an illusion, Yun Chujio imagined the scene of her bullying D-biming. The scene before her did not change, so it seemed that this was not an illusion. Since it was not an illusion, why didn't they start the test? What Yun Chujio did not know was that the weapon spirit of the Heaven's Pride Hall had already fainted from anger. Oh heavens, oh earth, why did he provoke such a pervert? He wanted points to challenge the array, but this guy, she wanted his life. That was the 10 heavens 9 earth myriad illusions array. What on earth did this pervert do? He actually made the 10 heavens 9 earth myriad illusions array's rune spirit self-destruct with nothing to live for. After a while, Qi Ling got up, he howled in pain, "Stupid girl. I'm not done with you. Not only did I give you 1,000,000,000 points, I also want you to die a horrible death. I want you to never forget the shadow of death for the rest of your life." Qi Ling had tears in his eyes as he began his revenge. Yun Chujio was using a rolling pin to hit the bluestone on the ground. This guy was addicted to picking up scraps, thinking that there might be some hidden treasure room down there. Seeing this scene, Qi Ling gnashed his teeth. Yun Chujio only felt a white light flash in front of her eyes. When she opened her eyes again, the scene in front of her made her so angry that she wanted to bang her head against the wall. Unlike her usual experience, there were no demonic beasts or demonic plants in front of her. She was actually facing people. People wearing ancient costumes. Those people were not cultivators, but ordinary people. They held torches in their hands and shouted loudly, "Burn this jinx to death." Yes. Only by burning this jinx to death can the people in our village survive. This jinx has killed her parents, and now she is trying to kill us. Only when she is dead can we have peace. Otherwise, we will all be killed by her. If she was not tied to the pillar, if she was not the jinx they were talking about, and if there were not a lot of dry wood around the pillar, Yun Chujio would still be happy to tell them about it, something about jinx or comet. But, damn it, how could she keep her life now? Yun Chujio tried it, but her spiritual power couldn't be used at all. She couldn't use the spiritual beast bag, the immortal sword, or the talisman seal. The rope on her body was extremely strong, and it was impossible for her to break free. Yun Chujio was still hoping for a fluke at the beginning, and she started to imagine other scenes in her mind, but it was useless. Just as Yun Chujio was frowning, a gloating voice came from her mind, "Stupid girl, this Qi Ling is kind enough to tell you a few things. First, your current points are -1 trillion, the lowest in history. Second, unless you can make these people not only let you go, but also call you a fairy, you will only be considered to have passed this test. Third, if you can't escape, you will die a horrible death. They will burn you alive. Fourth, you are now an ordinary person who can't cultivate, and a weak little girl who can't even truss a chicken." Yun Chujio was so angry that she gritted her teeth. This weapon spirit was too evil. This test was much harder than killing those demon beasts. The people below were all superstitious, not to mention calling her a fairy. If she didn't think of a way quickly, she wouldn't even be able to save her life. Some villagers had already started to pour tung oil on the firewood. As long as there was a small spark, Yun Chujio would be burned alive. Yun Chujio could roughly guess from the villagers' mouths that the identity set by the Qi Ling for her should be that of an orphan girl without parents. Moreover, something bad must have happened in the village recently, that was why there was such a scene today. Yun Chujia's brain was working rapidly. What should she do? Plead for mercy. It was definitely useless. These people had been brainwashed. If they couldn't bear it, they wouldn't be holding torches to burn her to death. An old man with triangular eyes looked at the sky and said, "It's time, execute." Everyone listened to the old man and was about to throw the torches onto the firewood. Yun Chujio finally thought of an idea and began to laugh wildly. Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. Burn me to death. As long as you burn me to death, all of you will be buried with me. Do you know who I am? I am the dragon lady beside Guanyin Bodhisattva. I am here to experience the tribulation of love in the secular world. Do you know why my parents are dead? That is because they are not mortals to begin with. After completing their mission, they will naturally return to the heavenly court. You foolish mortals, burn me to death. You have obstructed my love tribulation. You will be reincarnated as cattle and livestock in your next life. Come on, burn me. At worst, I will just find a new place to experience my love tribulation. Yun Chujio thought to herself, this is called fighting poison with poison. Aren't you superstitious? I am best at posturing. Today, I will act like a charlatan for you. The villagers were superstitious. Otherwise, they wouldn't have burned Yun Chujio to death. Now that they heard Yun Chujio's words, some of them hesitated. Village chief, what should we do? This Yun Chujio is usually quiet. Why did she suddenly say something like this? Could what she said be true? A middle-aged man asked the old man with triangular eyes. The old man with triangular eyes looked at Yun Chujio and San Jiaoyan. Yun Chujio could not help but complain. Damn it, the identity given to her by the Qi Ling was also called Yun Chujio. The damn Qi Ling must have done it on purpose. The clothes on the old man were obviously much better than the others. The old man looked at Yun Chujio suspiciously. Humph. Don't listen to her nonsense. If she was the dragon lady, would she be afraid of the fire? Wouldn't she just rain and put out the fire? When the villagers heard the village chief's words, they immediately had no scruples. They shouted that they wanted to burn Yun Chujio to death. Some of them even prepared to throw the torches in their hands onto the dry wood. Yun Chujio could not help but curse in her heart. Damn it, this person was much harder to fool than a demonic beast. Could she be burned to death just like that? Although she would not really die, it was too damn embarrassing. Yun Chujio raised her head by accident. Although it was night, the moon was big and round tonight, so the scene in the sky was still very clear. Yun Chujio's heart suddenly moved, she sneered and said, "You mortals are really stupid. Do you think that we dragons can reign as we please? The rain was ordered by the Jade Emperor. If the timing and place were wrong, then we will be punished by heaven." Hearing Yun Chujio's words, the villagers felt that it was very reasonable, so their hearts wavered again. The village chief stared at San Jiaoyan and said, "Yun Chujio, although what you said makes some sense, how can you prove that you are the dragon lady? You can't just say a few words and you are the dragon lady, right?" Yun Chujio sneered, "Of course I can prove it. There will be a heavy rain tonight, and because you have offended me, there will be a strong wind and maybe even lightning and thunder." The village chief could not help but sneer, "Yun Chujio, are you crazy? The moon is big and round. It's obviously a sunny night. How can it rain? Did everyone hear that? This Yun Chujio is just spouting nonsense. Burn her to death. If you're not afraid of retribution, then burn her. I'm tired of staying in this secular world. It's a good time to return to the heavenly court to take a look. It's been a long time since I've tasted the peach of immortality. Just thinking about it makes me want to eat it. As for you guys, you'll soon become pigs, horses, cows, and sheep. TSK, how pitiful." Yun Chujio curled her lips, she said nonchalantly. When the villagers heard Yun Chujia's words, they felt a little terrified. The middle-aged man who asked the question earlier said to the village chief, I think what she said is quite mysterious. I remember that the day her mother gave birth to her, it rained cats and dogs. Could it really be the dragoness? Yes, I also remember that there was such a thing. This old woman was the one who delivered Yun Chujio, an old lady echoed. When these two people said that, the rest of the people were a little hesitant. The middle-aged man said, Village chief, didn't she say that there would be rain tonight? Then let's wait and see. Anyway, it doesn't matter if it's just one night. At most, we can burn her to death tomorrow in the daytime. The villagers were afraid of retribution. They also agreed one after another, Village chief, what blacksmith's son said makes sense. Why don't we see if it will rain tonight? Otherwise, if we really burn the dragon lady to death, we will get our retribution sooner or later. The village chief rolled his triangular eyes and snorted coldly, all right, since you insist on it, then let's wait for one night to see. However, if it can rain on this day, it will be a ghost. There was no need to untie the rope on her body, in case she had to retie it tomorrow. Leave a few people to watch over her, and the rest of you can go back. The village chief picked a few strong villagers to stay here, and the rest of them left. Yun Chujio heaved a sigh of relief. If it wasn't for the damned weapon spirit that required these people to call her a fairy to pass the checkpoint, Yun Chujio would definitely have thought of a way to trick the villagers to untie the rope and escape. Now, in order to complete the mission, I'm just gonna have to put up with it. The villagers were all from poor families, so they did not mind the dirt, lying on the ground ready to sleep. Yun Chujio rolled her eyes, stretched her neck and howled the divine song, oh, oh, ah, hiss, 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 ah, chi 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 chi, all lela in the dead of night. Yun Chujia's strange singing, coupled with her staring eyes and grimacing teeth, scared the villagers to the point of peeing. They had never heard such a strange song before. They all thought that Yun Chujio was chanting a spell, and a timid one immediately knelt down. Dragon lady, please spare my life. Dragon lady, please spare my life. Yun Chujio ignored them and started singing Jiangnan style and apple pen again. The villagers were so scared that they were trembling. A brave villager said with a fierce expression, don't be scared by her. She must be singing randomly. What basin, what love is broken, it's all nonsense. Yes, she must have lost her mind because of the stimulation. Let's sleep, don't worry about her. The other villagers echoed. The villagers gathered their courage and laid down again. At this moment, the full moon was covered by the clouds and the wind started to blow. At first, it was only a light breeze, but then the wind became stronger and stronger with Yun Chujia's singing in the middle. The villagers hugged each other in fear. Could it be? Could it really be raining? Foolish mortals, your retribution has come. The storm and thunder should be more violent. Yun Chujio stretched her neck and shouted sharply. The few villagers trembled even more violently. The one who was a little braver stammered, don't be afraid. It's just the wind. No, it won't rain. As soon as he finished speaking, a thick bolt of lightning cut through the night sky and charred an old locust tree beside it. The villagers were so frightened that they quickly knelt on the ground and kowtowed repeatedly. Dragon lady, please spare my life. Dragon lady, please spare my life. We were blinded by lard and wronged you. Please forgive us. Sigh, all right. After all, we are villagers of the same village. Send me back to my home first. They'll think of a way to send a message to my friends in the heavenly court so that they can quickly withdraw their supernatural powers. Yun Chujio sighed and said. The few villagers were almost scared out of their wits. They did not care about what the village chief said. They quickly untied the rope on Yun Chujia's body and said, Dragon lady, let's go quickly. Yun Chujio moved her stiff limbs and followed the few villagers into the village. This was a piece of wasteland outside the village. It was not very far from the village. Yun Chujio did not know the way, so she deliberately left behind. At this time, the rain had become even heavier. The strong wind made people's steps somewhat unsteady, not to mention that there was thunder and lightning in the middle. The villagers were so scared that their faces were pale and their legs were weak. They finally arrived outside a courtyard with great difficulty. Dragon lady, please tell the immortals to stop using their divine powers. If this wind continues to blow, the crops in the field will be completely destroyed. Sigh, I am a kind person. Don't worry, it will not rain for at most 4 hours. Although Yun Chujio was in a sorry state after being drenched by the rain, she was used to being pretentious. At this moment, she really looked like she was floating in the air. The few villagers thanked her profusely and then dispersed. Yun Chujio curled her lips, pushed open the wooden door, and walked into the courtyard. She originally thought that this identity was an orphan girl who lived in a thatched cottage or something. She didn't expect it to be 3 tile-roofed houses. The courtyard was also quite orderly, and it seemed to be in good condition. Yun Chujio didn't have time to check too much. She ran into a room and found a set of clean clothes to change into. There was a bronze mirror on the table. Yun Chujio looked at it and found that this identity's appearance could only be considered delicate and pretty. Then, she looked at the ring on her hand and the spirit beast bag that had disappeared. It seemed that her spiritual sense had been transferred to this village girl by the Qi Ling. Yun Chujio curled the corner of her mouth. Soul-piercing. She had to admit that the Qi Ling city knew how to play. Damn it. Fortunately, she had learned some popular science books about the weather in her previous life. Otherwise, she might have been burned alive. It turned out that when Yun Chujio looked at the sky, she found that although the moon was high in the sky, there was a large cumulonimbus cloud above her head. The cumulonimbus cloud was also called thunderstorm cloud, and it was often accompanied by lightning and strong winds. There were 3 conditions for the formation of cumulonimbus cloud. A large amount of unstable energy, sufficient water vapor, and enough impact force. Yun Chujio muttered, TSK, the weapon spirit forcefully brought my soul here, and naturally, it would trigger the change in energy. If the weapon spirit knew that this cumulonimbus cloud was formed indirectly by it, would it be so angry that it would vomit blood? HMPH, damn Qi Ling, although you can create an identity for me, you can't come in and change the rules. I'll let you see, although I, Yun Chujio, don't have any spiritual power, but with my incoherent wisdom, I can still make these villagers worship me as a god. After Yun Chujio bragged about herself, she began to look at the furnishings in the room. Although the furniture in the room was not considered expensive, it was considered outstanding in this mountain village. Yun Chujio thought of the 3 tile-roofed houses and could not help but have a vague guess in her heart. The 3 tile-roofed houses and the furnishings in the room would definitely attract the attention of some people. As long as the orphan girl died, these things would probably fall into the hands of someone with good intentions. Therefore, there must be a conspiracy behind this. What I like the most is to expose a conspiracy. Thinking about it, it's really wonderful. This fellow is really generous. After thinking for a while, he went to bed and fell asleep soundly. On the other side, the Qi Ling was hopping with anger. Fuck. That damned brat, she actually made up some dragon girl. Those stupid humans actually believed it. It was just a rainstorm. This was purely a coincidence. Qi Ling would never admit that it was the energy change it caused. If that was the case, wouldn't it be a slap in the face? Although Qi Ling wanted nothing more than to stop the rain, Yun Chujio's guess was right. Qi Ling did not have the right to change the rules of this small world. It could only watch Yun Chujio's performance as a bystander. The rainstorm lasted for less than 4 hours before it stopped. The full moon hung in the sky again as if nothing had happened. The villagers were worried. Yun Chujio said that it would rain, and it did. She said that there would be strong wind and lightning, and there was indeed strong wind and lightning. Was she really the dragon lady? Wouldn't they be punished for treating her like that? So, early in the morning, the villagers gathered outside the village chief's courtyard. When the village chief showed up, the few villagers who were on duty last night quickly said, "Village chief, yesterday was really too scary." After the dragon lady chanted the spell, the sky started to thunder and lightning. We tried our best to persuade her, but after the dragon lady agreed to go home, she had the people above her put away her magical powers, so we sent her home. As expected, in less than 4 hours, the wind and rain stopped. When the village chief heard that, San Jiaoyan immediately glared. "What? You actually dared to let that jinx go? You guys are really stupid to the extreme. What's so strange about this god raining? It's just a coincidence. It's over, she must have taken the opportunity to escape. The people of our village will continue to be unlucky." When the villagers heard that and recalled the strange things that had happened recently, their hearts began to waver again. Was this Yun Chujio the dragon lady or the jinx? What are you waiting for? That jinx won't be able to run far. Hurry up and chase after her. The village chief shouted in exasperation. Just as the villagers were about to chase after her, they heard someone say lazily, "Who are you chasing after?" "Yun Chujio. You jinx, how dare you come here? Tie her up." The village chief was stunned for a moment before he shouted loudly. "Wait, I've already proven that I'm the reincarnation of the dragon lady. How dare you catch me? Do you all want to die?" Yun Chujio said indifferently. The village chief rolled his triangular eyes. "What bullshit, dragon lady? If you were the dragon lady, why didn't you say it before?" The villagers also looked at Yun Chujio with puzzlement. "Yes, why didn't you say it before? Sigh, your question is really stupid. Which immortal didn't have a seal placed on them when they descended to the mortal world? I'm naturally no exception. It's just that yesterday, at the critical moment, an old friend opened my seal, and I only remembered it now." Yun Chujio curled her lips, she spoke in a high and mighty tone. The villagers looked at Yun Chujio, who had a completely different temperament from before. When they recalled the storm last night, they were 70% convinced. Yun Chujio continued, "Originally, yesterday's old friend wanted to destroy this village. I was the one who pleaded for mercy on account of our past friendship. Otherwise, do you think you can still live until now? If you don't believe me, go to the village head and take a look at that big old locust tree." Immediately, a villager said, "There's no need to look. I saw it clearly last night. That thick old locust tree was directly struck by lightning and turned into charcoal." The villagers could not help but feel a chill down their backs. They looked at Yun Chujio with respect. The village chief was also a little suspicious, but when he thought of the 3 large tile-roofed houses, he gritted his teeth. Humph. This is just a coincidence. If you're not a jinx, then why are the people in our village so unlucky one after another? Last month, Li Zhuzi broke his leg. Last month, Wang Tiesua fell into a well. 10 days ago, Aunt Liu's house caught fire. 5 days ago, Carpenter Liu's youngest son died prematurely. The world is unpredictable. There is a cause and effect. These things naturally happen for a reason. What does it have to do with me? According to the village chief, I even said that it was you who caused it." Yun Chujio cursed in her heart, this was purely a crime that could not be blamed. "You fucking choked to death while eating, yet you still want to blame it on me? Humph. You are simply spouting nonsense. How could it be me who caused it?" The village chief roared with a red face and thick neck. Yun Chujio saw the village chief's pupils suddenly shrink and her heart moved. Could it be that this village chief was really behind all this? This made sense. This identity was an orphan girl. Once she died, the 3 tile-roofed houses were very likely to be taken over by the village chief. What a vicious old bastard. Because you are the reincarnation of a jinx. It is because you are the village chief that we have been implicated by you. Everyone, think about it. Did something bad happen to the village chief's family? Do all the unfortunate things that happen to you have something to do with the village chief? Yun Chujio said coldly. The reason why Yun Chujio said that was because she made use of the superstitious characteristics of the villagers. People were like that. Psychological hints were very mysterious. The more they thought about it, the more evidence they could find to prove that it was true. It was a dead cycle. Sure enough, after the villagers were silent for a while, someone said, "Oh my God! Isn't the son of the village chief a fool? Also, the village chief's mother is a widow. His father died a long time ago. Yes, I also heard that the village chief's father-in-law also went up the mountain to chop firewood and fell to his death. Also, the second and of his third uncle's brother-in-law jumped into a well and died. Now that you mention it, I also remember that Li Juzi broke his leg while repairing the village chief's wall. Yes, the time Tai Soazi fell into the well, it was also after the village chief's wife finished fetching water that Tai Soazi fetched water and fell into the well. When Aunt Liu's house was on fire, someone said that they saw a figure running into the village chief's courtyard. Could it be that the village chief was possessed by a disaster? Also, before Carpenter Liu's youngest son died, he was playing with the village chief's foolish son. The 3 of them became a tiger, and everyone's words were like gold. The more the villagers talked, the more suspicious they felt about the village chief. Even the things that originally had nothing to do with the village chief were all linked to the village chief. The village chief's triangular eyes were red. He was so angry that he almost passed out. Nonsense. All of you are talking nonsense. This Yun Chujio is the jinx. I'm doing this for your own good. Yun Chujio sighed, she wiped away the crocodile's tears. My fellow villagers, the secret of heaven cannot be revealed. I stopped the rainstorm yesterday and already lost 3 years of my life. However, for the sake of your safety, I have to tell the truth. This chapter is a preview. If you want to see a faster and more up-to-date chapter, please visit for more content. Yun Chujio's words immediately attracted the attention of the villagers. All of them stretched their necks and listened. Now, they had already believed 80% of Yun Chujio's identity as the Dragon Lady. Yun Chujio continued, "Dear villagers, when my parents were still alive, you all knew that they were all very kind people. How could such a kind person give birth to a disaster star? They were all reincarnated good people from 10 lifetimes. After completing the mission, they all became immortals. On the contrary, look at the village chief. Did he often take advantage of everyone? Did he often do things to enrich his own pocket? In fact, the village chief was a scorpion spirit in his previous life. I was once on shore and was stung by him. I killed him in a fit of anger. Although this scorpion spirit had forgotten the past, he was still a vicious scorpion spirit in his bones. That was why he kept doing bad things and targeting me. Originally, I didn't know that he was a scorpion spirit, but now that I've opened my heavenly eye, I can see through him at a glance. Look at his triangular eyes and his dry body. Doesn't he look like a scorpion? Stupid girl. You're talking nonsense. I'll kill you." The village chief flew into a rage out of humiliation and rushed towards Yun Chujio. "Help! Help! The San Jiaoyan is going to kill someone." Yun Chujio quickly jumped into the crowd and hid behind a few villagers. The villagers saw that the village chief's eyes were red and his face was ferocious. He really looked like a scorpion that was going to sting people. When they thought of some things, they immediately believed Yun Chujio's words. A few villagers stopped the village chief. Village chief, let Yun Chujio finish her sentence. Yes, village chief. Are you planning to kill us to silence us? Yun Chujio is right. Doesn't the village chief always take advantage of us? His wife doesn't even let us off. He is a scorpion spirit. Maybe his wife is a fat pig that turned into a spirit. Yun Chujio almost burst out laughing. She had to say that the imagination of the masses was really rich. The village chief was so angry that he was trembling. Just as he was about to quibble, he heard someone run over with a silly smile. It was the village chief's silly son, Yuan Bao. Father, Yuan Bao wants to play with this. Mother won't let me play with it. One of the people in the crowd saw the thing in that person's hand and immediately rushed out. Isn't this my son's silver collar? Why is it in your hand? The person who spoke was Carpenter Lu, who had lost his youngest son. He had earned some money as a carpenter. After his wife gave birth to 3 daughters, she finally gave birth to a son for him. Naturally, she treated him as a treasure. She had specially spent money to make a silver collar. Unexpectedly, the youngest son had died without any problems and the silver collar had disappeared without a trace. When the village chief's foolish son saw Carpenter Lu being so fierce, he was so scared that he cried out loud. This is what my mother gave me. I don't know anything. I didn't see my mother giving 4th baby soup. I didn't see 4th baby drinking soup. The village chief went forward and gave his foolish son a slap. You are a living being. What nonsense are you talking about? Hurry up and go home. Yun Chujio's heart moved. Wait. Yuan Bao, come over. You answer a few questions for me. I'll give you candy to eat. When the foolish son heard that there would be candy to eat, he immediately clapped his hands. Yuan Bao wants candy to eat. Yuan Bao wants candy to eat. The village chief quickly went to pull the foolish son. I'll send Yuan Bao back first. We'll talk about Yun Chujio's matter later. Yun Chujio's eyes flashed with a trace of sternness. She said to Carpenter's son, whose eyes were red, Carpenter's son, if you want to know how your son died, restrain the scorpion spirit. I'll give your son justice. Hearing Yun Chujio's words, Carpenter's son's eyes turned red as he went to stop the village chief. Village chief, stop. Why is my 4th baby's silver collar in Yuan Bao's hands? Seeing this, Carpenter's son's brothers also went forward and stopped the village chief and the fool. The village chief's eyes flickered, and he shouted with a fierce expression, I obviously bought this for Yuan Bao, why is it your 4th baby's? Don't talk nonsense. Get out of the way. Carpenter's son snatched the silver collar from the fool's hand and shouted, there's 4th baby's name on it. This is 4th baby's collar. Yun Chujio felt that it was time for her to make her appearance, so she said, take the village chief to the side, I'll ask Yuan Bao. The village chief struggled hard, but how could a dry old man like him break free? Carpenter's son's brothers gagged the village chief and brought him to the side. Yun Chujio said to the crowd, give me a few pieces of candy if any ant has it. Carpenter's son will pay you back double. Immediately, a woman took out an oil paper bag and handed it to Yun Chujio. Yun Chujio opened it and saw that there were a few pieces of candy inside. She took out one and said to the fool, Yuan Bao, what do you see? Do you want it? The fool did not care that his father was caught. When he saw the candy, his eyes began to shine. Yuan Bao wants candy, Yuan Bao wants candy. Yuan Bao, answer my questions obediently. If you answer them well, I will reward you with a piece of candy, okay? Yun Chujio said with a smile. Yuan Bao drooled and nodded repeatedly. Ask away. You just said that your mother gave 4th baby soup. Did 4th baby fall asleep after drinking the soup? And then your mother took off the collar. Yuan Bao nodded vigorously. Yes, yes. Fourth baby drank the soup, and mother took off the collar. Hearing this, carpenter's son immediately rushed to the village chief and took out the rag from the village chief's mouth. He shouted angrily, "Tell me, did your wife feed fourth baby poison?" No wonder fourth baby was in a daze when he came back from your house. He died a few days later. The village chief looked furious. Yuan Bao is a fool. Do you believe what he said? This collar was picked up by Yuan Bao. He probably dropped it when fourth baby was playing with it. My wife is a little greedy, but she wouldn't want to kill a child just for a collar. Don't be fooled by that bitch Yun Chuzhou. Yun Chuzhou sneered and said, "Carpenter's son, don't talk nonsense with him. Catch the village chief's wife and you'll know everything. However, we're making so much noise. His wife hasn't come out yet, so there's a high chance that she has already run away. You'd better chase her back first. She probably won't be able to run far." Carpenter's son immediately rushed into the courtyard. As expected, he didn't see the village chief's wife. He immediately led a few villagers to chase after her. The village chief's wife was fat and could not run fast. She was quickly caught and brought back. "Io, you bastards! Slow down! Slow down!" The village chief's wife shouted like a shrew cursing the street. Carpenter's son's wife also ran over at this time and scratched the village chief's wife. "You black-hearted poisonous woman, return my fourth child's life." The corner of Yun Chujia's eyes twitched and she coughed twice. "Stop first. It's not too late to beat him up after you've asked him." Only then did everyone move forward to pull the excited carpenter's son's wife away. Yun Chuzhou sized up the village chief's wife. She asked with a smile, "Now that the matter between the two of you has been exposed, if this is reported to the authorities, there will definitely be one main criminal and one accomplice. The main criminal will definitely lose his head. As for the accomplice, they will only be locked up for a few years at most. They will be released after the royal amnesty. So do you want to live or die?" The village chief's wife was just a village woman with limited knowledge. Her legs went weak after being frightened by Yun Chuzhou. Yun Chuzhou continued, "Have you heard of a term called bewitching the masses? The two of you did all those dirty things and put them on my head. Then, you said that I was a jinx or something. This is bewitching the masses. The current emperor is so wise. How can there be a jinx in the world? This is a great crime to kill 9 families. If it was your idea, then kill 9 families of your own family. If it was the village chief's idea, then kill 9 families of his. Kill 9 families." The village chief's wife was so scared that she collapsed on the ground. She howled, "This was all that damned idea. He took a fancy to your 3 tile-roofed houses and said that he could get the house if he killed you. I was forced by him." The village chief's head buzzed when he heard his wife's words, but his mouth was gagged and he could not speak. "According to what you said, this was all the village chief's idea. Then tell me what happened. With so many people to prove it to you, you can get rid of the main culprit." The village chief's wife was so scared by Yun Chujia's words that she almost fainted. She immediately told him what happened. In fact, it was very simple. When Li Zhuzi was repairing the wall of the village chief's house, the village chief took advantage of his carelessness and bumped into him. Li Zhuzi's leg was broken. The reason why the iron chain fell into the well was because the village chief's wife had smeared some tung oil on the side of the well. After the iron chain fell in, the village chief covered the tung oil on the ground with soil. The fire at Aunt Liu's house was also set by the village chief. As for Carpenter Liu's son, the village chief coveted the silver collar and wanted to make the matter bigger so that he could compel the villagers to burn Yun Chuzhou to death. Therefore, he put the poison in the soup and fed it to Carpenter's son's son. The poison would not immediately kill people, so Carpenter Liu did not suspect the village chief. After the villagers heard what the village chief's wife said, a few of the victims immediately rushed to the village chief and his wife, beating and scolding them. The scene was very chaotic for a moment. Yun Chuzhou watched the farce with a smile. People really had to have brains. Otherwise, they wouldn't even know that they were being played, let alone using their brains to save themselves. After a while, Yun Chuzhou said, "All right, stop beating them. If they really die, it won't be good if the officials know about it. Just send them to the officials tomorrow." When the villagers heard what Yun Chuzhou said, they all stopped. Although the villagers didn't care about burning Yun Chuzhou, an orphan, to death, the village chief was still registered by the higher-ups. If he really died, there would be trouble. Now that the truth was out, the villagers were a little embarrassed. Carpenter Lu took the lead and said, "Eldest niece, it's all thanks to you this time. We were bewitched before. I'm really sorry." With someone taking the lead, the other villagers also said, "Yes, we wronged you. I didn't expect Lu Wangkai to be such a heartless person. As the village chief, he actually did so many wicked things." Yun Chuzhou thought to herself, "Calling me my niece isn't enough. I have to call her a fairy. What should I do?" Yun Chuzhou rolled her eyes and came up with an idea. This guy started to tremble violently and began to sing the divine song again. Although it was in broad daylight, the villagers were still scared stiff. Just when they were at a loss, they heard Yun Chuzhou say in an ethereal voice, "In order to help you punish the wicked, I leaked the secrets of heaven. The heavenly court is about to send down the heavenly punishment. This heavenly punishment is even more severe than last night. Hurry up and pray for me so that I can avoid this heavenly punishment." This chapter is a preview. If you want to see a faster and more up-to-date chapter, please visit for more content. Carpenter Lu trembled as he asked, "Eldest niece, no, Dragon Lady, how should we pray for blessings? Don't mention the name Dragon Lady again, lest it brings more trouble. Kneel down and say, Little Ninth Fairy, peerless beauty, kind-hearted, snow-white intelligence, beautiful appearance and wisdom, Little Fairy Jiu, we can't remember what you said. Then say it, Little Fairy Jiu is peerless, beautiful and city-toppling." Yun Chuzhou painfully removed the last word. Some villagers asked in puzzlement, "Little Fairy Jiu, aren't we praying for you? Shouldn't we say that you save the suffering and save the suffering?" "Humph. What do you know? Saving people from suffering is the Guanyin Bodhisattva. Can I steal her limelight? According to what I said, hurry up, or the heavenly punishment will come," Yun Chuzhou said impatiently. Although the villagers felt that something was wrong, they did not dare to say anything more. They knelt down and began to say in unison, "Little Fairy Jiu, you are peerlessly beautiful and can topple kingdoms and cities." Before Yun Chuzhou could show off, she felt a white light flash in front of her eyes. When she opened her eyes again, she was already in the deep sea. Yun Chuzhou quickly activated the water-repellent bead, then, she cursed, "Damn Qi Ling. Will you die if you bring me here later? It was not easy for me to enjoy the worship of a person, and you messed it up for me, you damn Qi Ling." The Qi Ling in the corner was even angrier than Yun Chuzhou. She banged her head against the wall, "This Qi Ling is so angry. This Qi Ling is so angry. This stinky girl actually passed the test so quickly. Are those people pigs? Last night, he even burned her to death. Why did he call her a fairy so quickly? What kind of bullshit was this peerless beauty that could topple the country and cities? Pa! Damn girl, don't think that just because you've passed the first stage, you'll definitely die in the second stage. Moreover, HMPH, you'll only get 1,000 points after passing the first stage. Your points are still very, very low." At the same time, the people outside the Hall of Heaven's Pride discovered that Yun Chuzhou's points had changed from -1 trillion to -1 trillion plus 1,000. Everyone was dumbfounded. Could this display screen not calculate? -1 trillion plus 1,000. Were they asking us to count it ourselves? Of course, everyone did not have the time to count it. After all, Yun Chujia's result was the lowest in history. Yun Chujio, who was being ridiculed by everyone, was currently looking around in the sea. She floated to the surface of the sea to take a look. She could not see the edge of the vast sea and did not see any demonic beasts coming over. This fellow simply took out a large ship from his storage ring. After jumping onto the deck, he began to eat hot pot. When the Qi Ling saw this, he was so angry that he almost fainted. Pervert. This pervert. Not only did he have water-repellent beads, but he also had a ship. Moreover, you are here to challenge the rankings, okay? You actually ate hot pot leisurely. You are a great insult to this Qi Ling. Qi Ling rolled her eyes and formed a seal with her hands. A strong wind started to blow on the surface of the sea. Yun Chujio didn't even need to eat hot pot. The entire ship was overturned by the huge wind and waves. Yun Chujio put the ship into her storage ring and sank to the bottom of the sea. No matter how strong the wind and waves were, they wouldn't affect the bottom of the sea. Yun Chujio swam slowly on the bottom of the sea. She believed that Qi Ling would definitely do something. She just didn't know what kind of demon beast she was facing this time, no matter what kind of demon beast it was. With the spirit energy piglet and the purple lightning in her hands, she would kill any one of them. She would kill every single one of them. Qi Ling saw Yun Chujio sink to the bottom of the sea and sneered, "Little brat, so what if you have the water-repellent bead? You will not be able to complete this mission." While Yun Chujio was leisurely strolling on the bottom of the sea, Qi Ling's voice rang in her mind again, "Little brat, your mission this time is to make all the sea beasts in this area submit to you. Even if one of them doesn't listen to you, your mission will not be considered complete. Qi Ling, if you have the ability, come at me. I promise I won't beat you to death." Yun Chujio gritted her teeth and said. This Qi Ling was really too evil. Every time she gave out a mission, it would make people break down. When the Qi Ling heard Yun Chujio's words, she said proudly, "Stupid girl, it's useless to say this. Soon, you will be bitten to death by the sea beasts, and then you will be sent out. Qi Ling, I am kind enough to tell you that your current points are -1 trillion plus 1,000. It's still the lowest in history." Yun Chujio rolled her eyes. Damn it, the angrier I am, the more arrogant that Qi Ling is. He wants to fight with me. I will torture you to death. Stupid Qi Ling, I was just teasing you. Your mission is too simple. Not to mention me, even a 3-year-old child can do it. I even suspect that you are a brainless Qi Ling. You are so stupid. You. Humph. A dead duck with a stubborn mouth. Let's wait and see. The tool spirit said exasperatedly. Just as Yun Chujio was about to use Qi Ling again, she noticed that the entire sea area had changed. The sea bed was covered with seaweed, and all kinds of fish and sea beasts began to appear. The originally quiet sea water suddenly became noisy. After Yun Chujio returned from the Netherworld continent, she no longer hid her cultivation. Therefore, when the low-level sea beasts saw Yun Chujio, they all consciously avoided her. Yun Chujio thought that if she wanted all the sea beasts to submit to her, the best way would be to find the most powerful sea beast. After taming it, the other sea beasts would naturally submit. However, according to the wicked character of the artifact spirit, the most powerful sea beasts in this sea area would probably be of a high level. Although she had the spirit energy piglet and the small purple needle, when she encountered high-level sea beasts, her chances of winning were not high. What should she do? While Yun Chujio was pondering, she noticed that some low-level sea beasts were still running in all directions. She knew that a high-level sea beast was coming. Yun Chuzhou took off the spirit-concealing ring on her hand and hid behind a cluster of lush seaweed. This guy was thinking about little Jiu. If it was a sea beast that wasn't too powerful, she would go out. If it was a particularly high-level sea beast, then she would hide. The sea water in the distance began to churn. It could be seen that the sea beast that came must be quite big. Finally, a moment later, a huge creature swam over. This was a 28th level sword-toothed wild whale. It was the biggest sea beast that Yun Chuzhou had ever seen. This persistent wild whale's body was a few thousand feet long. When it opened its big mouth, many sea beasts that couldn't escape in time were sucked into its mouth. When Yun Chuzhou saw that it was the saber-toothed whale, she cursed all 18 generations of Qi Ling's ancestors in her heart. Damn it, she was only at the second level of the spiritual venerable realm, and Qi Ling actually created a sea beast that was equivalent to a human cultivator at the 8th level of the spiritual venerable realm. She was afraid that she wouldn't die completely. Although Yun Chuzhou was abnormal, she wasn't abnormal enough to deal with such a high-level sea beast. She hid behind the seaweed and hugged it tightly to stabilize her body, afraid that the saber-toothed whale would discover her. This chapter is a preview. If you want to see a faster and more up-to-date chapter, please visit for more content. Yun Chuzhou's thoughts were pretty good, but the suction force from the whale's mouth was too strong. The seaweed that Yun Chuzhou was holding was pulled up by the roots, so Yun Chuzhou was naturally exposed to the whale. Yun Chuzhou bared her little white teeth at the whale. "Big fish, look up. There's a mermaid." Fish did not have a neck, so they naturally could not raise their heads. They could only adjust their bodies so that their heads were facing up. Therefore, the saber-toothed whale turned its huge body and looked up. Naturally, the saber-toothed whale did not see any mermaids. It was instantly enraged. It was the overlord of this sea area. How dare someone lie to it? They were simply courting death. However, when the saber-toothed wild whale turned its huge body around, it discovered that the human girl had disappeared. The saber-toothed wild whale was so angry that it pulled out all the seaweed, but it still could not find Yun Chuzhou. The saber-toothed wild whale could only swim away in anger. After a while, Yun Chuzhou crawled out from an abandoned mussel shell with a big pearl in her hand. TSK, blessed people don't need to be busy. I even made a small fortune by hiding a cat. However, this thing should be an illusion. It's probably useless in this situation, Yun Chuzhou said. However, this greedy person still put the pearl into his storage ring. He didn't care about the long term, he only cared about having it in the past. Cough, cough. Yun Chuzhou was afraid that the saber-toothed wild whale would turn around and attack her, so she quickly swam in the opposite direction. However, even with the water-repellent pearl, Yun Chuzhou's swimming speed wasn't fast. This person was extremely frustrated. It seemed that she should take in an aquatic spiritual pet in the future, so that she could have a mount when she was in the water. When this person thought of this, her eyes lit up. Wasn't there a song that sang well? There was no food, no clothes, and the enemy would come forward. She could just get a temporary mount. Just as Yun Chuzhou was thinking, she saw the water in front of her churning. Although it couldn't be compared to the saber-toothed wild whale, it made a lot of noise. It should be a high-level sea beast. Yun Chuzhou still took off her spirit-concealing ring and hid behind a patch of seaweed, carefully looking out. Yun Chuzhou was happy when she saw the sea beast swimming over. It was a 26-level golden-backed long-necked turtle. It was much more comfortable as a mount than the fish and could even sunbathe on the surface of the sea. It was really an ideal mount. She didn't consider it at all. Her spiritual power was 2 levels lower than the golden-backed long-necked turtle. This guy had a mysterious confidence most of the time. Yun Chuzhou jumped out from behind the seaweed and said with a smile, "Hey, little bastard, I've been waiting for you for a long time." The golden-backed long-necked turtle was confused. What kind of person was this little human girl in front of it? Shouldn't normal people be very afraid when they saw it? Why did this little human girl look so excited? Little bastard, although I can kill you with my little finger, my biggest advantage is that I'm kind-hearted. As long as you obediently become my mount, I'll spare you. Otherwise, I'll rip off your bastard shell and bleed you. Yun Chujio said fiercely with a big kitchen knife in her hand. The golden-backed long-necked turtle was both angry and amused. A little human girl without spiritual power actually dared to make a fuss with it. And she wanted this turtle to be her mount. Was this little girl crazy? This chapter is a preview. If you want to see a faster and more up-to-date chapter, please visit for more content. The golden-backed long-necked turtle opened its bloody mouth towards Yun Chujio, ready to eat her up. "Io, you little bastard, you really want to do this the hard way. Looks like I have to teach you a lesson. Cute little piggy, attack." Yun Chujio released a little piggy of spiritual power. The little piggy of spiritual power slowly flapped its 4 short legs. It didn't look like it was going to attack the golden-backed long-necked turtle, but rather, it looked like it was playing. The golden-backed long-necked turtle pursed its lips. Weren't all human spirit beasts very powerful? This human little girl's spirit beast was actually a pig? And a piglet? How could such a weak spirit beast have the nerve to release it? A piglet is really too lonely. Come, little babies, come out. The golden-backed long-necked turtle was dumbfounded and it saw one after another spirit piglets appear in front of its eyes. This spirit piglet was obviously a high-level physical transformation technique. How could this human little girl release so many of them? Just as the golden-backed long-necked turtle was dumbfounded, all the spirit energy piglets suddenly sped up and rushed toward it. Although the golden-backed long-necked turtle was shocked, it felt that the piglet's attack power was definitely not that great, so it lazily spat out a few water arrows at the spirit energy piglets. Then, a scene that it would never forget for the rest of its life happened. Those spiritual energy piglets actually held the water arrows and began to gnaw on them. After gnawing on the water arrows, the spiritual energy piglet's body became even more solid, and its speed became even faster. It rushed towards the golden-backed long-necked turtle. The golden-backed long-necked turtle was so scared that it quickly hid its head inside its shell. This was its trump card. Its shell was extremely hard. Ordinary sea beasts would not be able to bite through its shell. The little piglet pounced on the shell of the golden-backed long-necked turtle and bit it for a while. As expected, it did not have any effect. When the time was up, the little piglet of spiritual power dissipated. The golden-backed long-necked turtle was very proud. It stuck its head out again and spat a few water arrows at Yun Chujio. Yun Chujio said while dodging, "Little bastard, do you think that I can't do anything when you hide in the shell? I'm just being soft-hearted. Look at what I'm doing." Yun Chujio shot several purple lightning bolts at the golden-backed long-necked turtle. The golden-backed long-necked turtle felt that its worldview had been refreshed. What the hell was this? Although the golden-backed long-necked turtle did not know what was special about the purple lightning bolts, it was afraid that it would be hit again, so it quickly dodged to the side. Unexpectedly, the purple lightning bolts actually turned a corner and chased after it. The golden-backed long-necked turtle hurriedly shot out water arrows to hit the purple lightning bolts. Although some of them were hit, there were still a few small lightning bolts that escaped the net and swam toward the back of the golden-backed long-necked turtle. After a few explosions, the golden-backed long-necked turtle rolled in the water in pain. Yun Chujio hugged her shoulders and sneered, "Little bastard, have you seen how powerful I am? I was merciful just now, or else your anus would have exploded completely. If you know what's good for you, then obediently establish a temporary contract with me, or else I will make your anus crippled and wound you all over the ground." The golden-backed long-necked turtle rolled its bean-like eyes and hesitated in its heart. Although Yun Chujia's purple lightning was a little strange, the golden-backed long-necked turtle only needed to protect its rear end, and it would not be at a disadvantage for a while. Yun Chujio smiled and took out a porcelain bottle from her storage ring. "Little bastard, I won't use you for nothing. As long as you agree to be my temporary mount, I'll give you a bottle of high-quality pills to stop bleeding when the mission is completed. Are you going to do this deal or not?" This chapter is a preview. If you want to see a faster and more up-to-date chapter, please visit for more content. Yun Chujio was absolutely confident that the golden-backed long-necked turtle would agree to her conditions. This was because this fellow had fooled countless demon beasts, and knew that the stick and sweet date method was always effective. As expected, the golden-backed long-necked turtle was terrified. Firstly, it indeed felt that Yun Chujio was somewhat difficult to deal with. Secondly, the pill to stop the bleeding was too attractive to it, especially now that it was still bleeding. The golden-backed long-necked turtle took the initiative to establish a spiritual connection with Yun Chujio. Yun Chujio formed a seal with both hands and established a temporary contract with it. "Here, eat a few pills first." Yun Chujio fed the golden-backed long-necked turtle a few transcendent-grade blood coagulation pills. The golden-backed long-necked turtle did not expect that Yun Chujio would actually give the pills in advance. Its heart was strangely moved. This little girl was not bad. Just as the golden-backed long-necked turtle was moved, it heard Yun Chujio say, "Isn't there a saber-toothed savage whale in this sea area? Let's go and kill it." The golden-backed long-necked turtle almost fainted from fright. It hurriedly used its spiritual sense to say, "Little fairy, that saber-toothed savage whale is a level 28 sea beast. The two of us together are not its match. If we go there, we are courting death. Are you stupid? Did I say that only the two of us will go?" Yun Chujio sat on the back of the golden-backed long-necked turtle and pouted. The golden-backed long-necked turtle was dumbfounded. "Little fairy, didn't you say that we should go and kill it? Besides, there's no one else besides you and me, right? Let's go and recruit some soldiers and horses right now. The two of us can't kill it, and we can't kill it even if we find a group of sea beasts. Once it dies, you might become the new leader. Think about it, isn't it great?" Yun Chujio began to draw a picture. The golden-backed long-necked turtle was excited for a while, then it said dejectedly, "Little fairy, to be honest, of course I want to kill that saber-toothed wild whale because it's too overbearing. There were a few times when I was almost eaten by it, but will the other sea beasts help us? You're really stupid to say that you're stupid. Think about how you were contracted by me. With this, we can contract more sea beasts. At that time, I will be the queen of the sea, and you will be Prime Minister Turtle." Yun Chujio said proudly with her hands on her waist. "Prime Minister Turtle." The golden-backed long-necked turtle felt that this title was very cool. What the little girl said made sense. Since she could contract it, she could contract other sea beasts. Moreover, she had it to help her. In this way, she would be able to recruit many sea beasts very quickly. At that time, she would be able to kill the saber-toothed wild whale. At that time, she would be able to take up the position of Prime Minister of the Turtle. Just thinking about it was very beautiful. "Master, I know where there are sea beasts of the same level as me. Let's set off now." The golden-backed long-necked turtle said impatiently. Yun Chujio nodded. The man and the turtle began to recruit soldiers and horses. An hour later, the golden-backed turtle brought Yun Chujio to a giant-toothed gray elephant. The giant-toothed gray elephant saw the golden-backed turtle carrying a little human girl and couldn't help but feel puzzled. This old bastard was contracted by a human. Strange, that little human girl didn't seem to have any spiritual power. How could she have contracted the old bastard? "Hey! Little Bucktooth, I see that your bones are strange and your front teeth are not bad. How about you follow us?" Yun Chujio said with a smile. If it weren't for the fact that the giant-toothed gray walrus was afraid that Yun Chujio had taken the golden-backed long-necked turtle, it would definitely spray her with sea flower dew. What nonsense was that? You are the buck-tooth, your whole family is the buck-tooth. Yun Chujio saw that the giant-toothed gray walrus did not have any reaction and continued to say, "Little buck-tooth, we are going to do something big. Saber-toothed savage whale, you know about it, right? I heard that it often bullies high-level sea beasts like you. Are you willing to be bullied by it?" The giant-toothed gray walrus recalled that it had been chased and killed by the saber-toothed savage whale several times, and its eyes could not help but flash with resentment. After Yun Chujio caught a glimpse of it, she felt a little more confident. Then, she said, "As you can see, the little bastard has already cooperated with me. In the future, after killing the saber-toothed wild whale, I will be the queen of the sea, and it will be Prime Minister Turtle. If you cooperate with us, I will make you a walrus general. What do you think?" Although the giant-toothed gray elephant thought that the walrus general sounded rather awe-inspiring, when it thought of killing the saber-toothed wild whale, it felt that it was simply courting death, so it did not express its opinion. "Little buck-tooth, do you think that we are striking a rock with an egg?" Wrong. It's a big mistake. Although the three of us might not be able to kill it, I will continue to recruit troops. I don't believe that we, a few dozen high-level sea beasts, won't be able to kill it. As long as we kill it, not only will you be able to share its meat, but its inner core will also be equally divided. When that time comes, your spiritual power will definitely have a leap. Besides, don't you want to add glory to your walrus clan? Walrus General, how awe-inspiring is this title? At that time, as long as you are in this sea area, you will be below one person, above all beasts. How awesome! Right, as long as you kill that saber-toothed wild whale, I will reward you with a bottle of medicine to stop bleeding. The effect is awesome. If you don't believe me, you can ask my Prime Minister Turtle. It has just eaten it. Yun Chujio revealed a wolf grandmother's smile and said with a smile. When the giant-toothed gray elephant heard this, it indeed looked at the golden-backed long-necked turtle. The shell of the golden-backed long-necked turtle almost turned red from embarrassment. "Little fairy, is it really good for you to expose his privacy like this?" The giant-toothed gray elephant was completely fooled by Yun Chujio's 360-degree trick. In a daze, it established a spiritual connection with Yun Chujio. By the time it reacted, it had already established a temporary contract with Yun Chujio. Very good. Now I have a Prime Minister Turtle and a Walrus General. Let's keep up the good work and take in another 36 protectors. Then we can launch a general attack. Let's go. Yun Chujio said valiantly as she sat on the turtle shell. The newly appointed Prime Minister Turtle and Walrus General were also on steroids. They thought of a beautiful blueprint and willingly followed Yun Chujio to start the trick journey. In the next 2 days, Yun Chujio's recruitment went very smoothly. If she could deceive, she would deceive. If she could not deceive, she would directly convince. Yun Chujio quickly gathered 36 protectors. This guy was playing tricks. He took out the big red cloth from his storage ring and used yellow silk threads to embroider a few crooked words, "Little 9 Sea Beast Army." Yun Chujio waved the freshly made military flag. "Little ones, follow me. Our chance to dominate the sea is here." The pure sea beasts were all excited. They followed Yun Chujio and marched toward the nest of the saber-toothed wild whale. The nest of the saber-toothed wild whale was behind a coral reef. The reason why the saber-toothed wild whale chose that place as its nest was because there was a small fish with a sharp beak that could help the saber-toothed wild whale clean up the residue in its teeth. Yun Chujio could not help but complain. This saber-toothed whale was quite particular about oral hygiene. This chapter is a preview. If you want to see a faster and more up-to-date chapter, please visit for more content. The low-level sea beasts in the sea area were all shocked. Emma, what was going on? How could those high-level sea beasts submit to that tiny human? However, these low-level sea beasts didn't dare to go forward and seek death. Fortunately, those high-level sea beasts were all excited and wanted to dominate the sea, so they didn't pay attention to these low-level sea beasts. A few hours later, Yun Chujio led the newly made Little Nine Sea Beast Army into the territory of the saber-toothed wild whale. Yun Chujio felt that the saber-toothed wild whale was quite good at enjoying life. The scenery of its nest was very pleasant. There were all kinds of colorful coral reefs competing with each other, and some small fish with sharp mouths poked their heads out from the gaps. The sea water churned violently, and the saber-toothed wild whale rushed over angrily. However, when it saw the scene in front of it, it couldn't help but be shocked, angry, and a little afraid. It didn't understand why these high-level sea beasts would unite together. Hey! Little Loach! Your time of death has come. Little ones, go! Yun Chujio stood on the back of the golden-backed long-necked turtle and waved the military flag as she gave the order. The reason why Yun Chujio did not deceive the saber-toothed wild whale was because she felt that this saber-toothed wild whale had always been at the top of the food chain, and it was really difficult to deceive it. Secondly, if the saber-toothed wild whale was contracted, those high-level sea beasts would definitely be dissatisfied. It was really not worth the loss. Therefore, Yun Chujio did not waste time talking to the saber-toothed wild whale and directly ordered the sea beasts to start attacking. The high-level sea beasts had been hunted down by the saber-toothed savage whale many times in the past. Now that they finally had a chance to kill it, they naturally would not let it go. Each and every one of them was as if they had been injected with stimulants as they fought with all their might. Although the saber-toothed savage whale's level was higher than these high-level sea beasts, its fierce tiger was inferior to a pack of wolves. No matter how powerful it was, it could not defeat so many high-level sea beasts. Moreover, there was also a shameless sneak attacker. Yun Chujio secretly shot out a small purple lightning, specifically targeting the vulnerable parts of the scimitar-toothed savage whale's body. When the golden-backed long-necked turtle saw Yun Chujio's mischievous behavior, it could not help but tighten its anus. This little girl was really too mean. Fortunately, it made the right choice, or else it would have died a terrible death. After more than an hour, the miserable scimitar-toothed savage whale was bitten until it was covered in cuts and bruises, and it died. Yun Chujio asked the golden-backed long-necked turtle to take out the inner core of the saber-toothed whale. Then, she divided it into 38 equal portions with a large kitchen knife and gave them to the high-level sea beasts. Yun Chujio pointed at the huge corpse of the saber-toothed whale and said, "Little ones, it's time for you to enjoy the delicacies. Enjoy them to your heart's content." When the high-level sea beasts heard Yun Chujio's words, they immediately rushed over. The meat of the saber-toothed whale was a great tonic for them. Naturally, they couldn't wait for it. The feast lasted for almost half a day. The high-level sea beasts all burped after eating, which made them even more convinced of Yun Chujio. Yun Chujio jumped onto the back of the golden-backed long-necked turtle and said in an awe-inspiring manner, "Are you all full? Then let's hold the coronation ceremony. It just so happens that this emperor will also divide some territory for you." This shameless person directly called himself this emperor. Those high-level sea beasts were also full now. Each and every one of them acted as if they were injected with stimulants. They began to act according to Yun Chujio's instructions. Those low-level sea beasts were really unlucky. They were all chased to the same place by those high-level sea beasts. The low-level sea beasts didn't know what had happened, and they were so scared that they were trembling. Yun Chujio saw that almost all the sea beasts had arrived. Pretentiously, she said to the sea beasts, "Today is the day that I, the Sea Emperor, ascend to the throne. All of you hurry up and kowtow to me. In your hearts, you say, 'Little Nine, the Sea Emperor, is peerless in his magnificence and can topple kingdoms and cities. If I find out that anyone disobeys me, I will kill them and bleed them." Those high-level sea beasts did not need to say anything. Their lives were in Yunchujia's hands, and they did not dare to disobey. Those low-level sea beasts did not dare to disobey the high-level sea beasts. Hence, all the sea beasts chanted in their hearts at the same time, "Little Jiu, Sea Emperor, magnificent and peerless, devastatingly beautiful." Yun Chujio, this fellow, only had one word in her heart: awesome. She was awesome. The Qi Ling of the weapon spirit was jumping. Fuck. That damned brat. She was too cunning. She had actually taken care of so many sea beasts so quickly, she was simply not human. Qi Ling hugged her head and thought for a long while. The corner of her mouth revealed a cunning smile. "Brat, you can take care of the land and sea, but it'll take you up in the air this time. It'll see what you can do." Yun Chujio was enjoying herself with a smug look on her face. A white light flashed in front of her eyes, and when she opened her eyes again, Yun Chujio was a little lost. What was this place? There were dried firewood, dried leaves, and even some bird feathers under her feet. Just as Yun Chujio was puzzled, she heard a chirping sound. She turned around and was shocked. She saw a baby bird of unknown species chirping at her. Although it was a baby bird, its size was almost the same as Yun Chujio's. Fortunately, the baby bird did not seem to know how to walk for a long time, otherwise, it would have come to peck Yun Chujio. Yun Chujio suddenly had a bad premonition. Could it be that she was in the nest now? Just as Yun Chujio was about to call out the chopping board and fly out of the nest, the proud voice of the tool spirit sounded in her mind again. "Stupid girl, I have chosen a good place for you this time. Your mission this time is to let the golden-winged vermilion-beaked eagle give its baby bird to you willingly." Qi Ling's voice sounded again. Yun Chujio's heart was like a beeping dog. The mother eagle valued the baby bird more than its life, so how could it give its baby bird to her willingly? Just as Yun Chujio was thinking about it, she heard the Qi Ling continue, "Oh right, you can't use that flying spirit tool of yours. If you use it, you will be judged to have failed the mission. I wish you good luck." "Good luck my ass." Yun Chujio felt that Qi Ling had the potential to become a lunatic. What kind of bullshit mission was this? Didn't they say that in the Heaven's Pride Palace, it was all about picking spirit herbs and killing demonic beasts? Why did she encounter such a perverted mission? She must have entered the fake Heaven's Pride Palace. Just as Yun Chujio was cursing Qi Ling in her heart, she heard a few cries from afar. Yun Chujio's heart sank. It was probably the mother eagle that had returned. Yun Chujio wanted to hide, but the baby bird had already discovered her. There was no point in hiding. Yun Chujio's mind spun quickly. Should she kidnap the baby bird to force the mother eagle? No. The damned weapon spirit had said that she had to be willing. What should she do? Before Yun Chujio could think of anything, the golden-winged vermilion-beaked eagle had already flown to the nest. The golden-winged vermilion-beaked eagle had a two-horned sheep in its mouth. When it saw Yun Chujio, it was also stunned. How did this human little girl come to its nest? However, the golden-winged vermilion-beaked eagle was happy to see this. This human little girl had delicate skin and flesh, and it was perfect for feeding the small eagle. The golden-winged vermilion-beaked eagle threw the two-horned sheep to the side, and its huge beak pecked at Yun Chujio. Yun Chujio pulled her neck and howled. The golden-winged vermilion-beaked eagle was shocked. While it was in a daze, Yun Chujio jumped to the side and said loudly, "Sir Eagle, stop. Stop. I have something to say." The golden-winged vermilion-beaked eagle was stunned. However, it felt that Yun Chujio could not escape from its palm, so it was ready to listen to what she had to say. "Lord Eagle, you have seen it too. I am a good-for-nothing without spiritual power. Aren't you curious how I got here?" The golden-winged vermilion-beaked eagle thought about it. This human little girl did not have spiritual power at all. How did she get here? Lord Eagle, let me tell you the truth. Your child, this small eagle, will be the overlord of this sky in the future. Her future is limitless. Yun Chujio paused at this point. On one hand, this fellow was trying to whet her appetite, on the other hand, this fellow was trying to figure out an excuse. The golden-winged vermilion-beaked eagle did not know what Yun Chujio was thinking. When it heard Yun Chujio say that the small eagle would be the overlord of a region in the future, as a mother, it was naturally very happy. It called out a few times proudly and then stared at Yun Chujio. It signaled her to continue quickly. Sir Eagle, although the future of the small eagle is limitless, it is still young. It still needs to learn a lot of things. Other than the various knowledge that you can teach it, it also needs to learn some human military tactics and strategies. Only then can it become a true overlord in the sky. As for me, I am the lucky one who was chosen by Tian Dao. I am the private tutor for the small eagle. Why did Tian Dao choose me? Because firstly, I don't have any spiritual power, so I won't be harmful to small eagle. Secondly, although I can't cultivate, am familiar with all kinds of military tactics, so am the best candidate to teach small eagle. Yun Chujio said nonsense with her eyes wide open. The golden-winged vermilion-beaked eagle was skeptical. Tian Dao helped its child choose a private tutor. Why did this sound so unreliable? Would Tian Dao specially help its child choose a human girl to be a private tutor? Master Ing, do you think this matter is somewhat unusual? This is because your child is already unusual. Yun Chujio said until here, looked around, and said in a low voice, Master Ing, let me tell you, the bloodline of the small eagle has the bloodline of the ancient divine beast, the golden-winged great ROC. The golden-winged vermilion-beaked eagle was stunned when it heard Yun Chujio. Ancient divine beast, the golden-winged great rock. The golden-winged vermilion-beaked eagle immediately became excited. Yun Chujio had hit the jackpot. This golden-winged vermilion-beaked eagle was really a branch of the golden-winged great ROC. Of course, this branch was basically irrelevant. Every demon beast was proud of the bloodline of the divine beast. When the golden-winged vermilion-beaked eagle heard that the small eagle had the bloodline of the golden-winged great ROC, it was naturally very excited. It selectively ignored the loophole in Yun Chujio's words. Yun Chujio saw that the golden-winged vermilion eagle's gaze was somewhat relaxed. She immediately continued to say, Lord Eagle, the small eagle's background is extraordinary. I, a trash without spiritual power, can't harm it at all. You can keep me to try it for a few days. If you feel that it's not up to standard, then you can eat me. Anyway, I can't run away. The golden-winged vermilion eagle thought for a moment and agreed. Yun Chujio finally heaved a sigh of relief. No matter what, she had managed to stay alive for the time being. However, she had said that she did not have any spiritual power, so naturally, she could not take anything from her storage ring to eat. What about her food for the next few days? She could not eat raw meat, right? This chapter is a preview. If you want to see a faster and more up-to-date chapter, please visit for more content. The golden-winged vermilion-beaked eagle was feeding the two-horned sheep to the small eagle. Although the small eagle was only born a few days ago, its appetite was not small. Soon, it ate half of the sheep. The golden-winged vermilion-beaked eagle saw that the small eagle had finished eating, so it ate the remaining half of the sheep. However, it was obviously not full, so it prepared to go out to look for food again. Lord Eagle. Lord Eagle. When you come back, can you bring me some wild fruits or something? I'm not as powerful as you and the small eagle. I can't eat raw meat. Yun Chujio said pitifully. The golden-winged vermilion-beaked eagle looked at Yun Chujio with disdain, then it cried out and flew out of the nest. Yun Chujio saw that the golden-winged vermilion-beaked eagle had flown away, so she sat down. The small eagle opened its eyes wide and sized up Yun Chujio. Although it was just born a few days ago, it was the cub of a high-level demon beast, so it was quite intelligent. Yun Chujio felt that she had to do something. It was best if it was effective immediately. She had to make the first shot. Small eagle, your mother feeds you so hard every day. Shouldn't you do something? Yun Chujio said to the small eagle. Small eagle squeaked a few times and then rolled its eyes at Yun Chujio. It was obvious that it looked down on Yun Chujio. Yun Chujio suddenly jumped forward, and the needle in her hand stabbed Small Eagle's body. Small Eagle squeaked in pain. Small Eagle was so angry that its fur blew up, but it couldn't move. It could only look at Yun Chujio and say proudly, "Little thing, I'm warning you. You can't play with me. If you behave well, I won't stab you. Otherwise, I'll stab you into a sieve." The small eagle was not willing to be threatened by her. It cried out angrily. Yun Chujio smiled sinisterly, "Even if you tell your mother, she won't believe you. If you don't believe me, you can try." The cry of the small eagle became even more furious. Yun Chujio sat cross-legged at the side indifferently and leisurely enjoyed the scenery in the distance. They should be on a cliff. There were forests and grasslands in the distance. The food source should be fine, so the golden-winged vermilion-beak eagle should not eat her because of hunger. Yun Chujio waited for the small eagle to stop screaming before she said, "When your mother returns, just say, 'Mother, you've worked hard.' Just say this. If you don't say it, I'll stab you when your mother leaves." The small eagle glared at Yun Chujio angrily. It had no intention of saying anything. It was determined to complain to its mother and eat this hateful human. 4 hours later, the golden-winged vermilion-beaked eagle flew back. The golden-winged vermilion-beaked eagle brought back a 2-horned sheep. After putting the sheep on the ground, it took out some wild fruits from its storage space and threw them to Yun Chujio. "Thank you, Lord Eagle, thank you, Lord Eagle." Yun Chujio thanked him flatteringly. At this time, Small Eagle cried out angrily, "Mother, that human used needles to stab the baby." The golden-winged vermilion-beak eagle was stunned and then scolded angrily, "Nonsense. How could she have such guts? Did you frame her because you heard that she wanted to learn something? You are really too unambitious. Don't eat dinner today." "Mother, woo-woo, she really used needles to stab the baby." Small Eagle was so aggrieved that it was trembling. The golden-winged vermilion-beaked eagle looked suspiciously at Yun Chujio who was eating wild fruits next to it. It then looked at the aggrieved Small Eagle, "Where did she stab you?" Small Eagle was in deep trouble this time. Yun Chujio only used embroidery needles. Small Eagle was big and had a layer of fur covering it. Therefore, the golden-winged vermilion-beaked eagle could not find any wounds. After checking for a long time, it immediately beat the small eagle with its wings. The small eagle cried out in pain. Then, it saw Yun Chujio's gloating eyes and almost fainted from anger. Although Yun Chujio did not understand what the golden-winged vermilion-beaked eagle and Small Eagle were talking about, when she saw the golden-winged vermilion-beaked eagle take care of Small Eagle, she knew that her plot had succeeded. "Humph! A stupid bird fighting with me? Looking for trouble." The golden-winged vermilion-beaked eagle took care of Small Eagle for a while. Small Eagle drooped its head and did not say anything. In its heart, it hated Yun Chujio to death. The golden-winged vermilion-beaked eagle only scared the Small Eagle. At night, it still fed it half a sheep. However, it warned it that if it lied again, it would starve it. The next morning, the golden-winged vermilion-beaked eagle went out to look for prey again. Only Yun Chujio and the Small Eagle were left in the nest. Yun Chujio held the embroidery needle in her hand and waved it at the Small Eagle. "Little thing, your performance yesterday was really bad. You did not say what I asked you to say. Then don't blame me for being rude. Yun Chuzhou insidiously stabbed the small eagle a few more times. This fellow specialized in picking places with a lot of fur. The pain made the small eagle cry out in pain. "Little thing, if you still don't say it today, I will stab you 10 more times tomorrow. The pain will kill you," Yun Chuzhou said insidiously. The small eagle was about to explode in anger. When the golden-winged vermilion-beaked eagle returned, it naturally began to complain again. The process was exactly the same as the previous day. The golden-winged vermilion-beaked eagle did not find anything wrong after checking. It beat the small eagle again, and it really starved the small eagle. Yun Chuzhou took advantage of the golden-winged vermilion-beaked eagle's carelessness to make a face at the small eagle. The small eagle almost fainted from anger. On the third day, in order to not be destroyed, the small eagle became timid. However, it made up its mind. When it learned how to walk, the first thing it would do was to eat that insidious human. When the golden-winged vermilion-beaked eagle came back from hunting, the small eagle followed Yun Chuzhou's instructions and said, "Mother, you have worked hard." The golden-winged vermilion-beaked eagle was stunned at first, then it hugged the small eagle with its wings and cried out. There was joy, relief, and a little sadness in its voice. The small eagle did not expect its mother to have such a big reaction after just one sentence. It was stunned for a moment. Yun Chuzhou saw that the golden-winged vermilion-beaked eagle was so excited and knew that the small eagle had said what she had taught it. She let out a sigh of relief in her heart. With this sentence, at least her little life could be saved temporarily. The next day, when the golden-winged vermilion-beaked eagle went out to hunt again, Yun Chuzhou said to the small eagle indifferently, "Little thing, do you want to know why your mother is so excited?" Although the small eagle hated Yun Chuzhou to death, it wanted to know the reason more, so it nodded. "Because your mother feels that her efforts have paid off. Your care made it feel that everything was worth it. Little thing, I really envy you. I don't even know who my mother is, let alone where she is." Yun Chuzhou sighed and said, her eyes were slightly red. Whether it was in her previous life or this life, she had never met her biological parents. Small Eagle saw that the evil person was even more pitiful than it, and the resentment in its heart lessened a little. "Little thing, if you want to make your mother happy, then listen to me. I promise to make your mother happy every day." Yun Chuzhou began to reveal her fox tail. The simple and stupid small eagle was indeed fooled. It called out arrogantly a few times. If it could make her mother happy, it was fine to listen to this evil person for the time being. Thus, Yun Chuzhou began to teach birds. Her teaching was very simple. It was nothing more than to make the small eagle care about the golden-winged vermilion-beaked eagle every day, and then often express its determination to become stronger. As a mother, she only cared about these two things. Therefore, the golden-winged vermilion-beaked eagle was very, very satisfied with Yun Chuzhou. It felt that it was no wonder that this human little girl was chosen by Tian Dao. She really had real talent. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.